All right, what is up, guys? Welcome to episode 2 of the Web 3.0 podcast. This is Taiki with my co-host Spencer Farrar, and
What's
we're going to
up?
talk markets. We're going to talk ETH Layer 2 EIP-1559. We're going to do a little deep dive on a project called HydraDX, something that we're very both bullish on, and then end the discussion on how we find tokens to invest in. So, Bitcoin 61K. Like, what are your thoughts?
Let's dive in. It's a great week. I'm excited. Wow, how's that voice crack to start? Damn it.
That's okay. We're not going to edit that out.
We're leaving that in.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been awesome. That's how excited I am. I think just when I look at it from kind of a macro perspective and I look across the board, I think markets are kind of breaking out here. Resistance levels are breaking out. And to me, the Bitcoin trade, it almost looks programmatic. And it's just a larger asset allocation, in my opinion. I think that some of these bigger swingers are stepping into the space, and there's just a constant bid almost driving price higher.
It's literally been a V-shaped recovery. Like,
Yeah,
in early March, we had like a week of like pure sadness. Like,
yeah,
I was like just like sad, and then in the next like 15 days, we just shot right up,
yeah,
and literally up only like all-time high. Like, was not even resistance. We just like broke out with a big green dildo. Like, life's great. The sad thing is like ETH has yet to break out. I feel
right,
like ETH has been struggling like all of 2021.
yeah,
I think it's like the ETH killer narrative, high gas, yada yada yada.
yeah,
Is even with this V-shaped recovery, Bitcoin's been able to just like burst past like 58K, but ETH still below all-time highs, 2K.
yeah,
I'm a little sad. Obviously, I think our Bitcoin position is like our biggest position in our portfolio, so we're very euphoric, but
yeah,
we hold ETH because we think it can outperform Bitcoin. But what the hell, man?
yeah,
It's not doing it.
yeah. I think um, I think that ETH. I think it'll follow suit eventually. I think that Bitcoin continues to break out, and then ETH will kind of lag behind and get there eventually. But we'll talk about it later with all the ETH killers and everything kind of taking away some attention potentially from
Mm-hmm.
Ethereum. But in my mind, I just think it's asset allocation and almost like a larger secular rotation. And I think if you compare across the board, if you look at equities, you see the S&P and the Dow breaking out to all-time highs and kind of the NASDAQ lagging. And in my mind, a lot of people are talking about rotation from high growth to value.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that blockchain and crypto is the most transparent growth story. And so the Nasdaq lagging behind, in my opinion, is maybe a secular rotation from the Nasdaq into blockchain, and that would make sense with this constant bid and its asset allocation, right? These large money managers, insurance companies are moving a percentage of their portfolio into blockchain and out of these high growth tech stocks that have been ripping higher since March of last year. And
Yeah,
so
do you
I
think?
think, yeah,
Sorry to interrupt, but do you
yeah,
think? I think in 2020 there was like these stay-at-home stocks and like these tech high growth stocks
yeah,
just like went parabolic,
right.
and that was like primarily from retail. I think, in my opinion.
Mhm.
But 2021 has been the year of just crypto, right? With Bitcoin, ETH.
Yeah.
I mean, so do you think that like literally retail, there's just the money that they would have spent on like buying Tesla or like the Nasdaq, they were putting in Bitcoin and ETH? Like, do you think that's actually happening? Like, that are we at that stage of the cycle where like
Yeah,
few
almost like
bros are?
the
Uh-huh.
in my mind, I don't think so, because I think when the retail guys really start to step in, I think that's late stage. I think that's a little late stage. Those guys generally get caught holding the bag at at the end. I'm sure there are a lot of retail guys stepping into the space, but I think that the price action at least looks programmatic, like I said, and
Mhm.
it's got to be big money
Yeah,
moving at a constant bid.
institutional bid.
Yeah, it's an institutional bid because the retail guys, um, like ourselves, we're not really going to move the market.
No.
But I could see personally, I'm seeing some smarter friends of mine start to get into Bitcoin, and so
Smarter friends.
yeah, it's like an indicator. Yeah, it's like an indicator to me that people are moving into the space, and if these guys that are pretty intelligent that I know are getting interested, then I think that's the first wave of like real retail movement. I think the other guys will follow eventually, but I think we're still early. My grandpa did call me the other day and ask me about Bitcoin though, so.
Wow. So it's getting a little too euphoric. I
Yeah,
think,
a little bit.
But I just don't imagine a world where Bitcoin does not reach 100K at least.
Yeah.
I just feel like that is programmed in at this point.
Yeah. Something
Yeah.
that I wanted to kind of finish up on,
Yeah.
at least close my thoughts out, and then your take on it would be, and I was talking to a friend about this, more of like a larger picture is, I think the amount of FOMO that people are going to have when Bitcoin hits 150K. Like, imagine the world when Bitcoin hits 150K. Some people are going to lose their mind. I think a lot of
$3 trillion.
Yeah, I think a lot of really wealthy people, a lot of institutions are going to be just flippant and just try to get in. And I think if Bitcoin goes to 150K, what does that mean on a larger scale? What does that mean at a macro level? What's going on?
Fiat is like Grandpa Biden's printing $3 trillion.
Yeah,
bills every 4 months or something.
right. And I don't doubt it. I think Biden will keep pumping out these stimulus packages, but I think that's a really scary thought when you really start to think about Bitcoin at 150K. What does that mean for the global economy, for the U.S. dollar, for
the
federal
gold bugs, the poor gold bugs? They'll probably
yeah. So that's kind of my final thought on the topic. But
yeah,
ETH's lagging.
Also, yeah, I also want to share my thought is I feel like a lot of retail that's bought Bitcoin the last, let's say, 6 months.
Yep.
I think their price target is like 100K. I feel like that's like a really round number.
Yeah.
And like last time Bitcoin hit 20K, dipped to 3K. I'm gonna buy Bitcoin at 10K, sell it at 100K, do a 10x, and just like go on with my life there.
Right.
So I think 100K is gonna be a pretty big psychological barrier to breach.
Sure.
Especially because at that point, like Bitcoin 100K, that's 6 figures. Like that's life-changing money.
Right.
I feel like a bunch of retail, even if like the fair value of Bitcoin is, like 200 or 300, or like even like whatever it is, people are gonna sell at 100K just to sell and like better their lives. And there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
But I think that's one of the reasons I think retail is gonna sell too early this cycle, is that at some point like the money becomes too big and like selling becomes too appealing.
Right.
I don't know if that causes a dump. Maybe that's when the smart money comes in. Like we like stall out at 90K and then retail starts selling, bids come in at 70K. I don't know if that's
it's funny you said 90K, because I said that exact same thing to someone. I said everyone's going to try to outsmart each other and sell before we get to 100K, right?
So yeah, people think they're so smart. Everyone thinks they're so smart.
Yeah, but then I think Michael Saylor comes in and buys. I think he'll buy that dip, whatever that dip is. I think Michael Saylor, some of these smarter guys, like you said, smarter money will come in and buy. So
he's been buying every week. It's crazy.
Yeah, he's a beast. Yeah, so buying at all-time highs inspires me. I had to buy a little bit. I had to follow suit. Yeah, but that's kind of the weekly recap. I think ETH will eventually break out. I just think if you look at the data, on-chain data, there's still so much transaction volume and network usage. It's got to break out. It's going to lag, but I think it will come eventually.
The transition to our next topic about like ETH killers, right? I mean, this narrative exists of ETH can't scale, like gas fees too high, like ETH's going to zero, whatever. But like obviously that's not true, because the reason gas is so high is because everyone wants to use Ethereum to like transact. Right. Obviously, like people like us, we get like outpriced, like because we just don't have that much capital. But the demand is there, obviously, for like a decentralized blockchain and like decentralized finance.
Right.
But ETH has been underperforming like BNB, like Polkadot, Cardano. Like there's nothing on Cardano, but it's like outperforming everything, and then there's like Avalanche and like Phantom and Solana. There's like all these like random ETH killers popping up left and right, saying like, oh, we can do 5,000 transactions per second. And obviously we don't even know if it'll work, but like that narrative is just like, I think a bunch of money, maybe like new investors, instead of going like 100% ETH, they're just going like 50% ETH and like spreading their bets across other layer ones. Maybe that's what's lagging, but I don't know. Like, what do you think? Like, what's stopping ETH from just going Gigamoon, GigaChad?
Yeah, I agree. I think the fees are just too high. I went on today to complete a transaction, and 10% of my overall principal balance was in ETH fees, and I think that we're accustomed to that, right? Been in the space and like ETH fees being high, network's busy, it is what it is. But some of the smarter people that are starting to move in that haven't been in the space as long, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense at first glance. So yeah, they're going to allocate a portion of their capital to ETH killers, because in their mind they look at the investment and they think, okay, Ethereum, why can't Polkadot or any of these other ETH killers do the same thing a little bit better? But I think that there's far too many amazing developers on ETH already. And so if you're familiar with the space, you know that. But yeah, I think the ETH killers, I'm invested in some ETH killers. I think you probably should. In my opinion, ETH is a first mover and has done really well, and I'm super bullish on it. But at the same time, I'm not going to bank everything on ETH being able to scale, especially with these updates as of late. If you want to dive in onto the update that was announced last week, I think that'd be helpful.
Yeah. So first of all, there's like two updates, right? Like apparently this month, optimistic rollout, or like layer 2 solutions are supposed to come out this month sometime. Like I haven't heard anything about that, but supposedly like if transactions can go on layer 2 on Ethereum, like that can help it scale. But it's like, but for me, it's like, okay, we'll see when it happens.
Yeah.
And then like you said last week, EIP-1559 basically got confirmed for July. And let me just share my screen, because it basically, like, the biggest takeaway from that hard fork, I believe, is going to be with the gas burn. And it's a little confusing. So can you see my screen? You can see my screen, right?
Yep.
So essentially what you see on the left is like how gas is paid today. So the subsidy block is the block reward the miners get, and the fees are like the excess money we spend to get our transactions across. But with EIP-1559, the subsidy, the block reward, stays the same, but the fees are going to get split between the base fee and the tip. So the base fee, like, we don't know what the proportion, like the percentage proportion between each of this is going to be, but the base fee is going to be burnt, right? So depending on how much is burnt, ETH can actually be deflationary, right? Which is bullish, very bullish. It's not that, because gas, like the cost of gas remains the same. So like, it's not like gas is going to go down, but the price of ETH might go up just because supply taken out. And the tip is like however much you want to spend on.
Right. If you want your transaction done quicker, you can pay a higher gas fee. I think.
I'm not too sorry to interrupt, but just one more thought. I'm not like too big brain to understand this, but it's supposed to stabilize gas fees. Because right now, like we spend, like, sometimes when the markets are volatile, we spend like 500 gwei or something, right? Like absurd amount. But with EIP-1559, I think gas is going to become more predictable, where it's not going to be as volatile.
Right.
So for the user experience,
activity.
Yeah. So the user experience will be much better.
Right.
So I don't think this is priced in, because I don't think people that move markets, like the institutional investors, they don't understand like layer 2. They don't understand EIP-1559. They just like understand Bitcoin as digital gold and ETH as like
tech,
like world computer, decentralized finance. Whoa.
Right.
1% allocation, that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah, I think this is addressing two problems though, and if ETH can tackle the scalability problem that they have right now, and obviously that's in the process of happening, we're just kind of playing a waiting game here. But a major pushback for ETH is no definite supply. Nobody. That's kind of, I think, the smart money, like you're talking about, is it loves Bitcoin because there's a finite amount, and with ETH there's no finite supply. So with 1559 potentially burning tokens here, it addresses the supply concern that a lot of smart investors have, retail or institutions. And so I think it's an important update. And like you said, many people are kind of combing over it and not really understanding how much it's really going to impact the network. And a friend of mine who super smart, works at a hedge fund, new to the space. I said, well, did you read the update? And he was like, yeah, no, it's terrible. Like Ethereum's doomed. I was like, and,
What?
yeah. So he misinterpreted it. And I think that in his mind, if we're burning tokens, then gas fees are going to skyrocket through the roof. And
I see.
yeah, so I think people are kind of missing it a little bit. And so that breakdown was helpful.
So I think ETH is really undervalued right now. I used to, because I think everyone that gets into crypto, it's like Bitcoin first, right? Like when I discovered crypto, I'm like, oh, Bitcoin is, this is an amazing asset. Like I'm gonna hodl this forever.
It's just the first layer, yeah.
Yeah, and then I look at Ethereum. It's like, what the hell is this? It's so complicated. But after like 3 months, I figure it out. I'm like, oh, okay, it makes sense. It's programmable money,
right?
And I think there's just an edge to be had. This alpha, right, in understanding what the hell ETH is. We're still so early. So I don't think layer 2 or EIP 1559 is priced in, because the institutional money, they don't really see crypto as like, I don't think they do that much research. They just see it as like an asset allocation perspective. It's like, okay, like instead of putting 10% into gold, I'll put 3% in Bitcoin because it's more volatile, and maybe I'll put 0.3% in ETH because like it's the second biggest crypto. Maybe it has value.
So you're using portfolio metrics to try to try to create, a portfolio with and optimize your return using volatility. And yeah, imagine being an analyst right now at like Morgan Stanley or JP Morgan or something that just entered the crypto space. Where do you start? It's like,
how do you explain to Jamie Dimon?
Yeah,
Bitcoin is good. Ethereum is good.
The space evolves so quickly. I mean, I imagine obviously they're hiring externally and trying to bring people in, but imagine being an analyst right now at an investment bank and them telling you, dig into 600 crypto projects and give me a handful of good investments here. Yeah, so it's hard to keep track of the space. It evolves so quickly. I like one a lot, Harmony. We talked about this, full disclosure, where I'm invested in one, but the scalability is kind of already solved, and I think that helps us transition to our next topic, which is DEXs and ETH killers, or Polkadot in particular. And you've got a super great slide if you want to walk through talking about Bancor. I think that'd be awesome.
Yeah. Well, before we talk about that, let's just like briefly go over like HydraDX, which is something that we both own. It was like a pre-sale, right? Basically, like we got it,
liquidity bootstrap. Yeah.
Yeah, and like they were doing this. Again, I'll be honest. At the time, I had no idea what the hell this thing was. But Spencer was like, "Dude, you gotta invest in this." I'm like, "All right, I'll spend some money." Like I'm no, like, I read the Medium article once.
Yeah.
Put money in it, and then after I understood Bancor, which is like a DEX on Ethereum, I really understood like why HydraDX is so powerful.
Yeah.
And I wish I bought more. I think we both wish we bought more. I think from the liquidity bootstrap event, I think we've like 2 to 3x already, and it's not even like live yet. It's like, I mean,
it's on
is it live?
Hacknet.
Yeah. So
it'll be live
let's
soon.
briefly go over. Let me just share my slide.
Yeah, but I'll talk about Hydra and I just think overall, like bigger picture, there's a problem with liquidity, right? Yield farming and all of these different DEXs offer staking rewards, and I think that the problem with offering attractive yields is that users tend to move between protocols or networks, almost yield chasing, and so it's hard to get people to stake or lock up their tokens, and so you kind of run into a liquidity issue when you have Uniswap and Sushi and all of these different exchanges kind of popping up. And so Hydra kind of caught my attention because it seemed to be a solution for liquidity on DEXs and not having to come in and pair two tokens. Because currently, right, with Uniswap, you have to come in and pair liquidity with other tokens. And yeah, so if you walk through that presentation you have, I think it's awesome.
Yeah, so essentially this is like, do you see the screen?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so this is like Uniswap, right? Like when I think about providing liquidity and like trying to make swaps, I think about like fishbowls, right? Where each fishbowl is specific to like those two assets. And like ETH USDC is like, it's very liquid on the top left here. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of money in ETH USDC. So, you know, if you're a whale and you want to buy $1 million worth of ETH, like there's like no slippage. But if you're trying to swap like obscure tokens like BNT to Rook, you know, like something that's illiquid, then like you're gonna have like 10% slippage, you know, if you're like trying to put real money in, which always obviously sucks. But with Bancor, I just think of it as like one giant fishbowl where there's BNT on one side and every other asset is on the other side, and everything is traded against Bancor.
Right.
So this solves the liquidity issue, because like no matter what token you're trading, as long as it's on Bancor, like you can trade it with minimal slippage. And obviously, like this has been really good. I think Bancor released this like version in October. Mm-hmm. And since then, like there's been like this parabolic rise in the fees and the total value locked for Bancor. And I think it's going to continue. And I wouldn't be surprised if Bancor even like overtook Uni, because like you said, like people chase yield, and I don't think liquidity is like loyal, right? I don't think liquidity is loyal. It's just going to go where there's most utility. Yeah. And with Bancor, they allow for single site liquidity. So instead of having to deposit ETH USDC, mm-hmm. you can just deposit ETH and just like gain rewards. Right. It's very bullish.
It's a huge solution in my mind. And it allows the protocol to own a significant number of tokens over time, right? The Hydra, at least, I'm not sure if it's the same with Bancor, but with Hydra, the protocol itself is going to own a significant number of tokens as people come in and deposit any other token, right? It doesn't have to be a pair, obviously. And so these tokens are ultimately going to be owned by the liquidity providers for Hydra. And so you and I, we're going to benefit significantly from that.
Yeah. I feel like people think that Uniswap is like going to be the #1 forever, right, on Ethereum. And I mean, it kind of makes sense. I mean, they're like the biggest name, biggest brand, trustworthiness, etc. But I don't know. I wouldn't sleep on Bancor. Even like SushiSwap. I think SushiSwap, SushiSwap has more total value locked than Uni. Did you know that?
Yeah. No, I didn't. I think you might have told me that.
Like this, it flipped this week sometime.
Whoa.
Sushi has 4.87 billion.
Yeah.
Locked, and Uni has 4.3.
Yeah.
And Bancor has 1.6. So, I mean, yeah, it's crazy because Sushi forked Uniswap, and now Sushi has more like value locked, and Sushi is like, I think it's like a fifth of the valuation of Uni.
I know you're kind of bullish on Sushi, but I think the common thread with all three of those DEXs is they're all built on Ethereum, and so Ethereum kind of circling back to it, scalability issues, high gas fees. That's why I'm super bullish Hydra, because it's built on the Polkadot network. Obviously,
Yeah.
the Polkadot network is fully scalable, and fees are, on the cents, and in the cents, low cents in comparison to high dollars. Probably something around $50 on ETH is, or on Uniswap, is going to cost a couple cents on Polkadot. So I do think ETH's getting a little run for their money here with these other ETH killers coming out, and DEXs being built on top of them. So I like Bancor a lot, I do, but again, in my mind, it solves the liquidity problem with Uniswap, but it doesn't solve the gas fees and scalability. So Hydra's king in my mind. Hopefully.
Yeah. Yeah. Like once you understand Bancor, like HydraDX, it's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
Like I said, I wish I bought more. And I think we both missed out on Polkadot.
Mhm.
Because I was eyeing it at like $7, but I was
Mhm.
like, I don't understand this. I'm not gonna buy. Now it's like 37. I'm like, fuck.
Yeah.
I
And
wish I bought more.
yeah,
Or I wish I bought something.
right? Yeah, my 2 cents on that too, and I think it's a good segue is, one, I agree, I missed out, and it's hard to find projects, and so we should, talk about how we go about finding projects,
Yeah.
because I think that most people struggle with that. But something that you reminded me of is, everybody loves Uniswap, but it's hard because we're so involved in the space, and when you spend over 100 hours in space, and you're as bullish as we are, we use Uniswap all the time, but people are just moving into the space. They don't understand Uniswap. And trying to talk someone through connecting a wallet the other day, a friend of mine, how to connect their wallet to Uniswap. They're like, is this safe? Should I use MetaMask? Should I use Wallet Connect? They're asking me. And so we're just still so early. And DEXs are still, a new idea for a lot of people. And so it just shows you how quickly the space evolves, in that we have this DEX Uniswap, who in December was king for me. And then Hydra comes along, Bancor, and the space evolves so quickly. How do you keep track of a space that's evolving so quickly? And I guess I'll ask you, how do you go about doing your due diligence? How do you find new projects? Is it a concrete formula, or is it more of an art for you, at least?
Yeah. I guess it's like an art in a way, because how I discover projects is just roaming crypto Twitter.
Yeah.
And like seeing what people are talking about, which might be like bad, because if I see it on crypto Twitter, then people have already bought. So like I'm probably like buying their bags. Like also talking to you, right? Like finding new projects, etc., etc. And the cool thing about like doing a lot of research is like once you understand Uniswap, right? Like Uniswap, AMM, DEX, yada yada yada. Like once you understand Uniswap, then you're gonna basically understand what makes all the other DEXs valuable, right?
Yeah.
So by understanding Uniswap, I understood why Bancor is good. And by understanding why Bancor is good, I know HydraDX, like their value.
Right.
And then whatever new DEX technology that shows up, then okay, like
You
I
can
have
build on
something
your
to
base
reference.
knowledge. You're building on top of pre-existing knowledge.
Yeah, and I used to be like, okay, like if I want a DEX play, I'm gonna just go Uniswap, right? I think that's like how a lot of people think, because it's the biggest DEX. It's like this, yeah. And I actually sold all my uni in the past couple of days, just because I wanted to redeploy it into Bancor and Rook, Bancor, Rook, and Sushi maybe. I'm mostly eyeing Bancor right now because I think Bancor is like really, really good. I still don't own Bancor. Like what the hell? But I'm trying to find a good entry when gas is lower. Gas has been really high.
So did you learn about Bancor after Hydra? So how did you get turned on to Bancor?
Bancor was being shilled by one of the Twitter guys I follow. His name is Crypto Messiah.
Yeah.
He was just like, I was watching his live stream, and he was just going over like single-sided liquidity, impermanence loss protection. And actually how I discovered Bancor is I'm very, very bullish Keeper DAO and Rook, as you know. And as of like last week, there was, or 2 weeks ago, you couldn't do anything with Keeper DAO tokens, the Rook tokens.
Right.
Like you would just buy it, and like you would just like have it sit in your wallet, like not earning anything.
Yeah.
But Bancor allowed whitelisted Rook, so I could now finally use my Rook to like earn yield on Bancor. And I'm like, wait, I'm providing liquidity on one side, which is Rook, and I'm earning like 30% APY. Like what the hell? Like this is revolutionary. Like this is crazy. And then I just get into the rabbit hole. So I think as you use DeFi applications and like research projects, you're gonna just like enter so many tangents, right?
Sure.
Study Rook, I learned about mining EIP-1559.
Yeah.
Then I learned about Bancor. I'm like, oh my god, Bancor. Oh, then HydraDX. Oh, it
Right.
all makes sense now. So
Yeah.
I think it pays. I think it literally pays to use DeFi apps.
Yeah.
And obviously, I've punted a lot of money paying gas. Like I don't even want to check how much gas I've spent on Ethereum, but like I think through like losing lots of money on gas, I've learned a lot of things that are valuable. How
Yeah.
about you? I don't know if
Yeah.
that I don't know if I answered the question, but
No, that's fine. I think your last point reminds me of when I first started trading in the stock market, and you can paper trade and you can read as many books as you want, but until you're pushing buy, sell, and losing money or losing money on
yeah,
transaction fees for you and ETH, you're not really experiencing what it's like to trade the
the
market.
emotions.
Yeah, and that's when you learn the most. And so, yeah, for me, I try to follow developers and follow developers on Twitter, Medium. Medium's super helpful when people post on there, just breaking down the projects. I think they do a great job of explaining protocols, etc. Yeah, trying to follow developers, and I think that that's probably the number one way I see a lot of people getting into the space and trying to find investments is they look for someone really smart going after a large market. And that's like
Yeah.
Pomp says. Pomp says with VC, right? His idea with VC is that he just looks for really smart people who are going after large markets. And so for me, similar in that you got to be in the space, you got to spend a lot of time, you got to get your hands dirty, and it snowballs. Yeah, you kind of dig into one project, and it's almost like with ETH. Someone asked me, they were like, what's the solution for ETH right now, short term, in fixing the scalability? And that's how I found Matic. I was like, okay, obviously there's a huge problem here with ETH. How can we fix it? Who's working on fixing it? Someone has to be fixing it. There's got to be a developer out there that says, this doesn't work. And so I came across Matic because in my mind, you need a layer 2 solution, right? A liquidity. There's a bunch of liquidity protocols out there, but how do you pick which one? And so Matic gives you the freedom of freely picking any of the liquidity protocols. And so that's how I kind of approach the space. Is I follow developers that are doing cool things that are very smart people addressing concerns that they might have with existing networks, etc. And when I use a network like yourself, and you get involved in a network and you find a problem, look for a solution. And the space evolves so quickly that there's so many projects popping up every single day. It's really hard to do it, at least while doing other things. If you're not putting in the time, I really over the weekend spend probably 8 hours just diving into crypto projects, following up with crypto projects.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, that would be my, long story short, find smart developers, look for a market that's either has a problem or is a large market that's going to be addressed soon. And then try to find developers that are not preoccupied with other things, that they're full-time invested in the space. And so another crypto that I really like, PRQ, I watched a video by from the CEO, and someone lost their funds on a transaction, and he helped them get their funds back. And to me, that was like a big testament to the project, because if someone is willing, that guy has no reason to go help somebody. It's buyer beware, and it kind of restored a lot of faith in blockchain, because I think it's kind of anonymous, and a lot of people are kind of like, if you screw up, you're screwed. But seeing the CEO of PRQ step in and help a user regain their tokens was huge for me. So yeah, looking for developers that are going after a large market, and Twitter helps. And I actually kind of use Twitter as like confirmation for my thesis.
Uh-huh.
And so I'll have a thesis, and I did this with Matic. I had a thesis with Matic, and then I saw some smart people on Twitter going, this Matic thing is legit and going to be a huge protocol here. And then I saw that it was going to list on Coinbase, and I was like, I'm levering up on this sucker. And
Oh yeah.
yeah.
And yeah.
So
it's like you
that's
said,
how I
like
do it. Yeah.
you said, like you spend like 8 hours like every weekend, and
Yeah.
that may seem like a lot for like the newer people, but it's really worth it, right? I mean,
Yeah.
if you think about how much money your future self is going to make through those like weekend study grinds, it's going to be like more than worth it. And
Yeah.
like you said, like recently you did like a 10x leverage on Matic after the Coinbase listing. And I'm like, dude, what are you doing? And then you just get like 1,000% gain or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, it's so hard not to be bullish right now. And like even today,
scary. I'm scared. I'm so bullish. So bullish.
So hard. Like,
but it keeps going up.
Yeah. It's so hard because to me, this is the most logical market. Okay. I don't have a ton of experience trading markets, but to me, I think there's a lot of talk about people saying there's so much volatility and what's going to happen with the Fed, and blockchain enables the most transparent growth story that you can invest in. And so to me, it makes sense. And Bitcoin going to 60, yeah, it makes sense. And Bitcoin to 100,000, yeah, it makes sense. And it's just like,
how about 1 million?
Right, 1 million. I'm there. I'm there. I think it goes to 1 million eventually, but
Yeah.
It's hard not to be bullish on the space. And it's I think in a closing thought for me on this topic would be a lot of people are going to make a lot of money and invest in a lot of different projects, and they're going to do well, and you're going to see high returns. But I think those will be pruned off eventually. And I think that there will be winners and losers. Right now we're in the middle of a Super Bowl, and a rising tide lifts all boats. And so it's like the internet, right? When the internet came about, you have all these companies popping up, internet boom, and not all of them make it, and a couple of them do. And you have Google and Facebook and all of these huge internet companies that survive. And I think we're going to see the same thing in crypto. The developers that are in the space, that are active, hands-on, those ones are going to stick around. But even with like Graph and PRQ, and like they're both indexers essentially, and so they allow you to kind of go into blockchains and pull out data. Graph uses historical data that it goes in and indexes into the blockchain and pulls data out that has previously occurred. And I'm totally bullish on it. I didn't get in on Graph, and I think it's a later stage development than PRQ. But PRQ, for me, I learned about Graph. I knew what Graph was. But then when I saw PRQ coming along and making the adjustment of indexing in real time and then triggering events outside of the blockchain, as for example, if a transaction happens on the blockchain real time, PRQ can take that and essentially trigger something off the chain, which is revolutionary in its own. And it happens real time data. And whereas Graph is indexing in and looking at previous data. So in my mind, PRQ is the Google of blockchain, right?
I see.
It's an indexer. It allows you to go and search for data like Google does in the internet. It provides,
can you provide like a simple use case for PRQ?
Yeah. So
something
for PRQ,
that someone like me like me can understand.
Yeah. So for PRQ, it's like if we had a simple smart contract between us, and something and some conditions were met and the smart contract executed, it could trigger the wire from your bank account to me.
Okay.
Yeah, so it essentially real time is staying on track and keeping up with the network activity, and can trigger off network events to take place. So if you and I have a smart contract between us, and I say, if it rains tomorrow, wire $10,000 to Taiki, and
Hell
it
yeah.
rains tomorrow, and you're getting $10,000, and PRQ is going to be an enabler.
I see.
And so a lot of corporations are using PRQ, and obviously all the benefits of blockchain, right? Security, transparency. But yeah, I just love that development team and what they're doing, and but like I said, it's an evolution, and you had a similar walkthrough in that, I learned about graph, and then I missed out on graph and triggers and indexers, and then I thought, okay, PRQ, much smaller market cap, great development team. Graph has an excellent development team too, and then real time data. I don't know why. I mean, you're going to index in and look at data from the past. So yeah, but anyway, tangent. That's my tangent for the podcast.
Yeah.
Thanks.
It's yeah, it's really cool. And like the more I learn about all the projects being built, like actually being built, right? It's not like just like a white paper and like an idea. It just makes me so like every day I'm just like more and more bullish. I'm like making like bulltard tweets, like up only, like dips are not real.
Yeah.
And it just makes me think, like, I mean, I know we talked about this in the last podcast, but I want to talk about it again. Like, do you believe in the super cycle thesis, the cycle that ends all cycles, the cycle where we all make it? And do you believe in that thesis in the next few years?
I think so. Yeah, I think we hit 1 million in Bitcoin, but like I said,
in the next few years, you think so?
Yeah, I think so.
Whoa.
Yeah, I think we hit 1 million eventually. But like I said, I think that
I agree with you.
Yeah, but the tech pruning in my mind, right? Like with ETH and all of these other networks popping up, I believe in Bitcoin hitting 1 million, but I think there's a lot of easy trades out there right now. If you can just get your capital invested in some of these projects, they're going to do well right now because we're in a Super Bowl. But
yeah, sentiment changes.
Long term, the projects are going to die off, and not everybody can be an ETH killer, and not everyone's going to take.
Yeah.
And I believe in the Super Bowl.
Super Bowl. So where do you think Bitcoin tops, like in the next 12 months? Just like random price targets. Just for fun.
I think across the board, what I talked about, resistance levels breaking and Biden printing up, I think Bitcoin gets close to 90K and pulls back. 12-month target, I think it breaks 100K.
That's it?
Yeah, I think.
Wow.
I think 250 is my 12 to 24 month target. Maybe
I see.
12 to 18 month target, 250. But I think we definitely break 100K by end of year. I'm not invested to call.
Yeah, I'm not here to
points.
call tops, and like I'm not here to sell tops or like try to sell tops, but it's just like for fun.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think we break 100. I think it may be, like you said, consolidation around 90, break 100. But the longer I'm in the space, the more conviction I have and I'm not going to sell. I'm not selling.
Think about it, right? Like let's say like last October, like 5 months ago, I texted you and I said, all right, Spencer, like March 2021, Bitcoin's hitting 62K. Like you would probably punch me in the face. like no, like you're stupid. Like no, get out of here, you bulltard. But now we're here, and
yeah, and it feels cheap.
I think logical, right?
Yeah,
feels logical.
60K, 100K easy. Yeah, and like I said, we hit 150K.
Yeah, like what if 150K? Like you mentioned earlier, like once it hits like 150, then like people really start FOMOing in, right?
Yeah.
Like what if it hits 150 this year? That would be insane. I wouldn't
be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if it hits 150K. It's something, the panic's going to start to set in across the economy, and people are going to start buying hand over fist because something is wrong. And obviously I think we both know that our current financial system is wrong. It's broken. So
it might not even be that something is wrong. It might just be like gold is wrong.
Yeah.
And Bitcoin is all right, like we're all migrating to Bitcoin.
Yeah.
And I think like an event that can catalyze that is like a central bank, like a top 20 country.
People are talking about France.
Yeah, like
People
central
are talking
banks.
about France. Yeah.
I think I wouldn't be surprised if some central banks already bought,
Yeah.
especially if you're like a smaller country, like why not? Like why not? Like for like the X% chance that it does become like
what if
the
you're like
reserve
Italy
asset.
right now, right? Like Italy's had a rough go.
Uh-huh.
I'd want to be the first mover to start buying some Bitcoin and holding it on my balance sheet.
Yeah, and I'm sure I'm pretty sure some country has already bought, but they're not like making it
disclosing
public.
it. Yeah.
Yeah. But I'm sure like let's say Italy discloses like, okay, we bought Bitcoin in like February.
Right.
And then I'm sure like other countries will be like, well, we bought in December of 2020. And it's gonna be like the Michael Saylor tweet, like we now own $4 billion of Bitcoin, which is an aggregate price average
the country
price
of France
$24,000.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some prime
Miami's
minister is
trying
like,
to do it, right?
Oh yeah, Miami.
Miami's trying to pay their government or city employees in Bitcoin. They're giving them that
Mayor
option.
Suarez, that guy, like I
Smart
applaud him.
Yeah, I think he's just trying to track capital. He's doing a good job.
Yeah, like and I already know a lot of people, at least on Twitter, like moving away from California to Miami, just because it's more friendly and like crypto, whatever, and like lower tax.
Yeah.
Yada, yada, yada.
Speaking of tax, I think that short term, that's my only fear.
Tax increases?
Yeah, because I was trying to think, if it hits 150 and you're the Fed, what are you going to do? Right? What are you going to do when everyone starts pouring their money into Bitcoin and realizing that the current system we have is broken? I think that the only thing short term that you can do to prevent mass adaptation is to keep the corpse from purchasing. We're starting to see the domino effect, and I think that a lot of corporations are going to follow Tesla, MicroStrategy. Yeah. But if policymakers come out and say, we're going to impose a 40 to 50% tax on corporations that buy Bitcoin, it's over. Like I don't think the whole story's over, but I think that short term.
Yeah, that's FUD. That is real FUD.
Yeah, that short term jolt that we get from corporations buying, and in my mind at least, that's the only thing I worry about. Is some sort of regulation, but I mean,
yeah, it's like when did the government when did they step in? At some point, they're going to step in.
And someone I talked to, this very close friend of mine, he said, and the government should just start competing. They should just step in, start mining cryptocurrencies and offering yield. They control yield right now, right? Short-term yields. Get competitive, start offering yield. Obviously, it's never going to happen, and that's a larger. It sounds like privatization, but look, you either try to ban it and impose a large tax on it, or maybe you step in and start putting it on your balance sheet, and start competing and offering yield. That's what you should do. These salty bankers are all used to getting asymmetric returns. And now, you guys have to roll up your sleeves and start competing. But
I can't imagine a world where, what kind of world would it be with like 500K Bitcoin? It'd be insane. Hopefully sometime in my lifetime. I think we hit 1 million in my lifetime.
Easy.
Maybe
5 years.
That's so
target.
So euphoric. You think so? We're so euphoric. It's kind of scary, but
it is.
Like you say, it's a logical price target.
Yeah.
What else will it do?
The more I'm in the space, the more hours I put in. You put 100 hours plus in, the more it makes sense, and the more bullish I get, and the more I think I don't even know why I'm holding my fiat. And
I always make fun of Spencer. Like, you hold 20% cash. Like, where you at? Like, all right,
Yep.
thanks for buying Bitcoin at 60K. You're pumping my bags. Thank you, sir.
All right. What are your closing thoughts?
Yeah, I think my greatest fear is always selling too early. I think this is some part of a super cycle.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it peaks like this year, next year, 2023, but I do think we have reached an inflection point with crypto where, like, because with crypto, we're either going to make it or we're not going to make it, right? Like, it either becomes the future of finance or it just becomes like a niche, like gambling or casino. But at this point, I think it is like the future of finance, whether that's Ethereum or Polkadot or like Cardano or whatever. I think it's inevitable. I think banks will slowly use DeFi to earn yield for their clients. Might be like the smaller banks. Like I don't see JP Morgan doing it, but like imagine, because you can get like 10% on Aave with stable coins.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine a bank using that and like offering 1.5% to their clients, right? Like people will think that's amazing, but the banks are just pocketing all the profit.
Something we
Obviously, the
should talk
yields will
about.
go down.
Yeah, something we should talk
Obviously, the
about in
yields
the
will
next
go down,
podcast.
but it's like CFI. It's like called CDeFi, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
like centralized, decentralized finance, which is kind of sounds weird, but I think that's gonna slowly happen. And yeah, I'm overly very bullish in the space, macro bullish. Hold my coins. Not gonna sell early. I'll sell some when my long-term capital gains, but I'm gonna have a really big moon bag.
Yeah,
We're gonna make it.
my ideal world, I'm going to be able to, exchange my Bitcoin for a house and not have to pay capital gains tax on it. By
That's not happening.
converting into fiat first. Maybe someone will take Bitcoin, but I wanted to say, I think that blockchain is transparent growth. It's real growth, secular rotation out of some of these NASDAQ companies into blockchain. Yeah, I mean, the growth there is transparent. It's going to change the world. I want to end on this video though.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Just to show that, the podcast, it's gonna follow suit. But here is, let's see if I can share a tab real quick. Here's Taiki going viral. Can you see my screen?
Wait, it's loading. All right, yeah, I see it.
Okay, Taiki going viral here on Twitter. Don't sell Rook. He's got diamond hands.
Hold his coins with full conviction. And what will Crypto Messiah do? He's gonna buy the dip. He's gonna sell his winners and add to his losers. And what would Ledger stat?
And
I'm very proud of that video. Very proud.
Just goes to show that we're in the space, we're bullish, and we'll be providing the best weekly insight.
Yeah.
In
after this episode gets 3 views from our friends and family. Episode 10 will have 10 views. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, like, also, sorry, I just had like many closing thoughts, but I mean, the reason I'm making these YouTube videos is like I don't really foresee myself growing an audience because I'm covering very niche topics. Like I'm just like diving really deep into Keeper Down and like Bancor and like like no one really cares, right? Maybe like a few hundred people. But if DeFi is if like if this is a super cycle, then there's going to be a lot of people 6 months from now that will be wondering, what is Keeper DAO, the coin that's 20x in the past 6 months,
right?
And like they're going to look back to this video of like me telling crypto Twitter like buy the dip, hold on to your Rook with your diamond hands, like. And the funny thing is, after I made that video, like Rook bottomed.
So you put the bottom in.
I was like, how ironic would it be if that video created enough awareness for Keeper DAO to put in?
I almost bought. Your conviction was so strong. I almost got in there. So I'm still doing my due diligence on Rook.
Rook is really difficult to understand. That's why I think it's hasn't had that much
arbitrage.
Yeah, but I think over time people will turn around and you're going to be buying my bags later, hopefully. Cross
Yeah,
my fingers.
I like doing this podcast because I think we get my I get my thoughts out, and it's good to talk it over. And yeah, I think that people will look back on the space in a couple months. And I mean, I was looking back on Bitcoin at 20,000, thinking, I remember being there and going, "Wow, 20,000 Bitcoin." Now we're at 62,000 essentially, and we're documenting Bitcoin at this point.
Yeah. Hopefully 12 months from now, we're going to look back on this episode and be like, wow, remember when Bitcoin was 60K?
Should have
And
bought
not,
more.
yeah, and not like, oh my God, Bitcoin's at 5K.
Mm-hmm.
I'm so stupid. We're so stupid. But yeah, I think that's a good way to wrap it up.
Yeah.
Thank you for watching. Leave a comment for if you want us to cover
Specific
new
topic.
topics.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks for watching. Yeah.